Good morning. We have agreed that anytime we have something to do, we begin with a gem, a universal truth, a truth that is applicable in all situations. And today we have one gem. It goes like this. As teachers, what we leave behind is not what is engraved in the stone monuments. What we leave behind is what is woven into the lives of others, that is, individual lives. Let us look at it, the truth in this statement. Each one of us leaves something behind after the person has taken footsteps. But according to this, as teachers, we are unlike sculptors, painters who paint canvas. We paint on canvas. The sculptors like Leonardo da Vinci, they have left behind great artworks. As teachers, we cannot boast about any of such things. What we can boast is what is woven into the lives of the children that we teach. So let us be careful how we weave, the threads we use to weave. Because those individuals, the students and the pupils in front of us are very impressionable. We can influence them for good or for bad. And today that is the gem that we want to look at, meditate and think about the truth in it, and as teachers apply ourselves into this truth, which is applicable to any teacher anywhere. Today we move on from classical conditioning of Ivan Pavlov to another area of learning, otherwise known as operant conditioning, by E.L. Thorndike and B.F. Skinner. Thorndike was a 20th century educator and a psychologist, and he began by learning the processes that influence development. He was born in Williamsburg, Massachusetts, the eastern coast of the United States, and he died in August 1949 at Montrose in New York. We want to look at Thorndike briefly. He did some little work. We will call it little when we compare it with that of B.F. Skinner. But it becomes big because B.F. Skinner used the ideas of Thorndike and expanded it. Operant conditioning, what is it? It is sometimes referred to as instruction coordination. It is a method of learning that occurs through rewards and punishments for behavior. Let me stress that. A method of learning that occurs through rewards and punishments for behavior. And so through operant conditioning, an association is made between a behavior and the consequence of that behavior. And so with this in mind, Thorndike performed some important learning experiments with animals, especially with the cat. He used some other animals, but we are so much interested in his study with the cat. In his laboratory, he put a cart outside of a box. Now, in the box was food, and he wanted to find out whether the cart will find its way into the box where the food was. Through trial and error, moving around, the cart eventually was able to find a way into it. And so he wrote a simple statement: the law of effect. The law of effect. What is this? Going chances, there coincidentally finds a way. Thorndike is saying that the law of effect is that when an environment has been operated upon and the end result of what that organism is looking for, in this case the food pellets, it has become an activity, and then the effect of that activity. So he writes simply the law of effect, and it has educational implications for teachers. If we reinforce something, a good behavior, it will be repeated. If we de-emphasize, a wrong behavior will be stopped. Now, with this idea proposed by Thorndike, B.F. Skinner read through his propositions and then took this idea and tried to improve upon it. So according to him, learning is the function of change in a behavior, while Thorndike's theory emphasizes the role of experience that strengthens or weakens stimulus and response connections. I'll be explaining this as we go on further. So B.F. Skinner built also a box, popularly known as Skinner's box. He put his rat in the box, and then he put some food pellets inside there. But the cat, the animal for the experiment, could only get access to the food pellet if he could press a lever that will release the pellet for the cat to eat. And so, in the sense of Thorndike, the animal had to roam about that environment. Roaming about the environment, he believes that the best way to understand behavior is to look at the causes of the action and then the consequences of the action. And therefore he called this approach operant conditioning. Whereas Thorndike called his process as learning by trial and accidental success. Now, if you look at what I have said already, that the law of effect has a relation between a behavior and its consequences, you will find that this is also true. Now, if we look at operant conditioning, which we have said is also known as instructional conditioning, we will find that there is an interaction between one's environment in terms of the stimuli that we can have within that environment, and then the impact of that on our behavior. So the term operant is coming from the idea that the individual learns through responding or operating on one's environment. We have already said that this was discovered by E.L. Thorndike, who placed a hungry cat in his what we call a parcel box. The cat was able to escape and eat the food once it opened the door using a latch. When the cat was first introduced to the parcel box, its behavior was erratic. That is what we call random behavior. Then eventually, he activated the lock and freed itself. Now, you will realize therefore that when there were successive trials, it didn't become something of a chance trials again. It went straight to the latch, escaped, and went out to eat. And therefore, Thorndike calls this process learning by trial and accidental success. If you look at what we are doing, you realize that I am putting two things together to make a little comparison, because B.F. Skinner built on the work of Thorndike. That is why I go mention Thorndike, bring Thorndike into it, and then I go to B.F. Skinner. So don't get confused. We believe, it has been believed, not only us, but this has been the most influential contributions of the science of psychology. It has become a reference point in literature and research. And so as we go on and look carefully, extensively into the work of B.F. Skinner, you agree as to the contributions of Thorndike to the work of Skinner. It is Skinner who coined the term operant conditioning when he was at Harvard University. We are saying again that he worked with rats. He invented a chamber box, otherwise known as Skinner box. I've said it already. So that he will be enabled a study to be done in a laboratory setting. Now, in this chamber where he put the box, there was a speaker also. He put lights there, a lever, a food chute. Therefore, he had another alternative chamber. You will look at that also. He used pigeons to peck on a particular key to have the same effect of food falling. In the case of the cat, a lever to step on. In all the cases, food pellets will fall and these creatures will eat them. Now, in Skinnerian studies, which is our focus now, the cat is hungry, but there's no way the cat can get access to the food pellets unless the cat could step on a lever that opens for the food pellets to fall. So let us imagine ourselves with this animal moving and roaming about, and then coincidentally steps on a lever, and then food falls and it eats. But it's not aware that it is a particular lever she stepped on or it stepped on. So the trial continues. And after several trials, it steps on the lever again. Food pellet fall. Eats it. The hunger is gone. So according to B.F. Skinner, It didn't take long. After so many repeated trials, the cat now goes straight to that lever, steps on it, and food falls, eats until the hunger is gone. Skinner believed that the animal, the creature, has operated upon its own environment and it has learned through experience. So Skinner became an individual who has been regarded as the father of operant conditioning. But we have said that he built on the work of Thorndike his law of effect. Now, he believed that behavior, other human behavior or animal behavior, is followed by pleasant consequences. Pleasant consequences is less likely to be repeated. And behavior followed by unpleasant consequences is less likely to. So when the behavior is pleasant, the consequences that has come after a behavior is pleasant, that behavior is likely to be repeated. Whereas, if a behavior is followed by unpleasant consequence, it is less likely to be repeated. Very interesting. So, in the case of the pigeons, for example, he has built a key, like the keys on the piano organ. But the pigeons will only get food to eat if it is able to peck on a particular key. And so, in the same way as the cat, it is a random behavior, pecking, and it pecks on the expected key, and then food falls. The pigeon continues pecking randomly, then picks on the same key again and food falls. So it didn't take long. B.F. Skinner realized that the pigeon was pecking on this same key. The pigeon, by his conclusion, has also learned by experience. With this summary of what Thorndike started, to be continued and polish it by B.F. Skinner, we have this theory of learning referred to as operant conditioning, and then the implications for educators like you and I. So he believes that the main task of a teacher in the teaching and learning process is to see what generalization principles can do for us. What to be remembered or what to be forgotten by students. We must be very careful. Why students forget what they learn so easily. And I'm sure you will agree with me that if a stimulus and its response, like he did in the laboratory, the behavior and then the consequence is pleasant, then the organism will continue to repeat it. The students we are teaching are human beings with minds. And so, if we bring this theory into the classroom, we will find the essence of going through drills with our students. In our school days, we remember recitation. The essence of recitation is all that from operant conditioning. We are reinforcing something so that the child will find it easy to fix it in his or her mind. Drills. So there's a connection between a stimuli and the responses of those things which are not remembered. And we do this through drill. So drilling is an important exercise in the classroom. So when the teacher in the morning says we're going to have a mental drill, timetable drill, keywords drill and all those things, they have come as a result of this theory of operant conditioning. In the same way, we can help a student that we teach to discontinue a behavior that is not acceptable. Now, if you have a chart in the classroom, and then you want to administer good, very good, excellent as rewards, a system to the pupils in your class. You are doing this in order that the students do not forget. So you make an attempt to create teaching and learning of unfamiliar words. Then you paste this on the classroom walls to bring about what you want the children always to remember, not to forget. So we find ways of working with the child's mind so he can remember. As teachers, we should also remember that the children that we teach have emotions. And therefore they will react. So children will get to form good habits or attitudes when they associate these with rewards, satisfaction, and praise. So let us applaud our students when they do something good. If they answer our questions and the questions are correctly answered, let us encourage them so that they will do better next time. Undesirable attitudes, like I have said already, can be removed by associating them with unsatisfying desirable conditions. Now, let us take for example, there is a student. It could be a male or female student. Very good, robust athlete, sports, games. He plays in the school, whatever team. But at times he becomes stubborn, he doesn't come to school. And then there's a very interesting competition between schools, inter-schools competition. And this lady or this female student or male student is featuring. You go to see the head, see the sports master or mistress, and disallow the student from playing in that special tournament. The condition is that you want the child to stop the stubborn behavior, the undesirable behavior. So you are using an unpleasant, which is negative, to bring about a positive reaction. So as a classroom teacher, or as classroom teachers, let us make our class lovely and enjoyable to the learner. Children get interested in things that bring pleasant results, and they are actively also involved in carrying out activities in the classroom. So let the child operate in his or her environment like the animals did. The teacher must incorporate in his class manipulative skills. Look at the cat, look at the pigeon, manipulating the environment. So let the child, our children, manipulative skills. Subjects like mathematics and science classes. In English lessons, dramatization could be used so that you use this to teach students, and then they do role plays. More and more opportunities should be provided for the students to use in the classroom, because we say that experience is the best teacher. So when they explore, so now exploration, project work, group work, so that each child has the opportunity to do something and not sit idle. In conclusion, We are not forgetting that Thorndike's theory of learning has been endorsed by all the behaviorist psychologists, not only B.F. Skinner. Thorndike came with his law of effect, that this law works. A behavior has an effect, has its consequence. That is the meaning of law of effect. And B.F. Skinner took this and expanded it, bringing about operant conditioning as a theory where an organism operates within its own environment, and as a result of this operation, the consequences are that there's a satisfaction because learning has come through this operating we call experience. Now, this is the summary of this theory of learning. And I'm happy that by the grace of God, we can combine two. Thorndike's very simple, Skinner expands it and comes out with a broader heading, operant conditioning, because in their two cases, their animals operated within the environment where they were put. Our children must be put, they are already in an environment, the classroom environment. So let them do the same as they operate within the environment and learn through experience. Thank you.